Hey guys, hope everything's going well. You guys know the drill. If you like my video, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and comment down below. All right, today I wanted to do a different type of video, and it's about Econ 101 and sports cards. And I've talked about some of these topics here and there, but I just wanted to, combine some of the things that I've said and put into one video. Okay, so I've talked about how, in my opinion, the funny money that was printed last year by the Fed, that's one of the reasons that has led to the craziness in this market, the huge spike up. I showed you the money supply in one of the videos. It's gone berserk. M1, M2, gone insane. And you could Google that, the St. Louis Fred online. And here's the thing. So when you print monopoly money, the Fed does, right? It artificially lowers interest rate, at least in the short run. And that being said, there are going to be investors that just pour in. Investors poured into the stock market, investors poured into Bitcoin, investors poured into sports cards. And then came the individuals that were just flipping. People that usually flip shoes were like, hey, this is much more easier money than flipping shoes. If I just send it to PSA, the card, I'm going to get a good opportunity for arbitrage if it's a 9 or a 10. And that's what happened. That's why PSA is flooded. But here's what I've observed based on just looking at, just basic economics. So before I do get into that, I wanted to talk about the different types of school of economics. There's the Keynesian school, which relies more on government spending to stimulate the economy. There's the monetarist school, the Milton Friedman school, that's more of, get the government out of the way, but when it comes to, monetary policy with the Fed, you should tinker interest rates in that way. And then there's the other school that the media really doesn't talk about. It's the Austrian business school. And, there's some economists like Ludwig von Mises, Friedrich Hayek, and these individuals, were very much against, central banking and the Federal Reserve and all of these banks around the world. And one of the things about these guys, especially Hayek, he won a Nobel Prize for it, University of Chicago. He said that, there's going to be this boom bust cycle when you artificially increase the money supply, aka print all this monopoly money, and eventually it's going to create this acid bubble, which will then burst, right? You keep interest rates too low for too long, it's going to blow up in your face. And the US has done this since 2009. And granted, the stock market has benefited from that. The economy was able to recover slowly, that is, from the real estate crash. But there are still structural problems stemming from, the real estate crash, which also was caused, in my opinion, one of the reasons was keeping rates too low for too long. And, it's going to be hard for the Fed to raise interest rates to a point where I believe they should, but they won't. And because of that, you're creating this acid bubble, in my opinion, in the stock market, in Bitcoin, in sports cards, our favorite topic here, and many other assets or tangible assets. Let me rephrase that. So I'm looking at this, okay, the Fed's printed all this monopoly money in March of last year, helped the stock market, helped sports cards. And now, because the rates are too low for too long, people now are aggressively speculating in this market and think that they could flip in perpetuity. That's how they're acting. They're like, oh, let me get this card, let me flip it. You see all these YouTube channels talking about flipping, and just based on those simple observations, the fact that people are going to Target getting into fights over this one mega box, not one mega box, but just boxes of cards. People are fighting over it. Adults are fighting over cards. This doesn't rationally make any sense. And since it's saturated, it's going to hurt prices in the near term. And I would say in the next 2 years. Some people are arguing that the prices are already going down and will continue to go down. And here's one thing about Hayek. So when you keep interest rates artificially low for too long, it creates market distortions. It makes people feel like they're invincible, some of them, thinking that, oh man, I just found a gold mine and I'll continue to find gold mines. But the thing is, it's hard finding a gold mine and a pot of gold. Sometimes people may be lucky to find multiple pot of golds, but eventually the chickens will come home to roost when, the Fed takes the punch bowl out of the system. When the Fed raises their short-term rates. Or another way right now is if the long-term rates start going below the short-term interest rates, that's when you're going to have problems. So if you look at all these recessions in the US economy, you have to look at the yield curve. Now, I don't want to get too technical here, but it's a concept that I definitely look at. So when you have short-term interest rates that are less than long-term interest rates, the banks make money. Now, if the short-term interest rates are greater than long-term rates, that's when you start to have problems in the economy. And some people are saying like, hey, the Fed's not going to be able to raise rates. That's true. They're not. But what happens if the long-term rates go below the short-term rates? And the short-term rates are very low. Well, what if, the long-term rates goes close to zero? You're going to have problems in the economy. Banks make money off of the spread between the short and the long end of the curve. I know I may be talking too fast here. I know some people don't follow economics, but you could also, look at these concepts of the yield curve. And before COVID, all the media talked about, the financial media, was the yield curve, the yield curve, the yield curve. And then eventually, that actually foresaw or actually told you that there was trouble in the system, even if we didn't have COVID. They're saying that, what? There are going to be problems in the economy. COVID or no COVID. I expected some sort of recession in 2020, and we got it. COVID accelerated that. So, right now, yeah, you don't have any threat of that recession. The yield curve seems to be stable as of right now. 2 years from now, I don't think so. I could be definitely wrong, but I'm looking at a bunch of things right now. And once again, I wanted to go back to Hayek's principle. He talked about, when they have interest rates too low for too long, it creates market distortions. People act in a way that they probably wouldn't have acted. So what are people doing right now? People are going to card shops trying to flip. I saw a comment yesterday or this morning, and someone said that, they went to a card shop in Philly and the flippers were mad. Now, I don't know how it is around the country if flippers are having problems, but I do notice that card prices have slowly gone down on eBay, at least. Some of the cards that were on fire, that were doing really well in January, February, not doing as well. Are they better year over year? Yes. Are they better compared to 2 years ago? Most definitely. The ones that are, the most in demand. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the fact that Whenever we used to sell top loaders, a few months ago, we didn't buy from Cardboard Gold the last few months because Cardboard Gold just increased the prices like crazy. They wanted a piece, in my opinion, of the secondary market, and also they wanted to make sure that they're not losing money because of inflation. And because of inflation, the shortages, it's very hard, to keep prices constant. So last year, I was able to buy 65 top loader, no, excuse me, 40 top loaders for about $65. So for $130, free shipping, I think it's on Columbia Sports Goods or something like that in Washington, the state of Washington. I could get 80 top loaders for $130. Now, if you go on eBay, you have to spend, I think, $250 for 40 top loaders. It's insane. And if that's incorrect, let me know. So I'm looking at the fact that, okay, now everything's getting expensive. Sure, part of it is, inflation from the Fed, but there's other issues too. I don't think Ultra Pro is aggressively selling their products as they were, last year. I know they make PPE equipment, so that could be the other reason. Anyways, I'm seeing more people getting to this market. I'm seeing top loaders go up like crazy pricing wise. Sleeves that we sell, those prices have gone up. I see the fact that everyone wants to flip right now. I see YouTube videos talking about celebrities getting in on this. What happens if the celebrities say, you know what, we have stopped buying because we lost money because we were buying at the hype in January and February, and now I have a bad return on my investment. I saw this one video. I didn't watch it, but it said that Mark Wahlberg is getting on sports cards. LeBron James is getting in on it. I know Kevin Durant was on it, but he's an investor in some of these companies. People are getting involved in NBA Top Shot, and I'm like, okay, I was getting in on it when it was quiet, the market. And sure, you had people getting in on it a few years ago, but now it's way too saturated, in my opinion. Now, the high-end market, on golden auctions, those cards may still do well. Don't get me wrong. But those guys have money, these athletes. Yeah, there could be some guys, buying $200, $300 cars. But I'm looking at the high-end stuff. The high-end stuff will probably retain value. Could go down, don't get me wrong. But that market should be strong. The market that I think is going to get decimated is where everyone is trying to flip, but now is getting frustrated. And that's why, as a precaution, I'm starting to sell my cards. Not all at once. I've told you why I don't want to do that is because, what if I send all my packages the same day? FedEx and USPS, what if they, what if they drive into a ditch and the contents get dinged or damaged? I want to diversify, the days that I send out my packages on. Sometimes I send it to a consignment house and they deal with that. And, when you see cards that have gone from a few $100s to over $1,000, some over $3,000, some over $4,000 in less than 2 years or about 2 years, in my opinion, it's probably not the time to be buying those cards. Could some of those cards go up? Sure. Probability and law of numbers say that they won't. And in my opinion, a lot of people right now are going to get burned and they're going to give up on sports cards. And when these guys give up, probably at the same time, it's like musical chairs. It's hot potato. You don't want the hot potato. That's what I want to buy. And right now, I just don't really want to aggressively buy. The things that I'm going to buy is, stuff I just want to collect. Nostalgia, like I'm talking about the 90s Bulls. That's what I'm looking at right now. Just for fun. I'm buying some cards here and there. Granted, like I said, not everyone's going to be losing money right now. So if someone gets in on a break, I'm not a fan of breaks, but if someone gets on a break, they get a rare Trevor Lawrence card, as someone commented about, and I think I was alluding to in the other video. Those guys, they may get, a few $1,000s for it. Don't get me wrong. There are still opportunities. It's just much more harder to figure out what's going to go up now. This is a challenging market. And for me, I have a simple mind, and I'm like, okay, what's a little more easier than this? I'm going to sell some of these cards, and I'm going to go in, like I said, the stock market. I'm playing the S&P 500. I'm buying gold miners because of the reflation and / inflation trade. And that's where I think the money's at in the next 12 to 18 months. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what's going on my mind. And I'd even mentioned, there's a supply issue with PSA. That supply is going to hit the market. So I want to get rid of these things before PSA gets their backlog under control. If they have a backlog of 10 million cards, which Darren Ravel says, and they're punching out 500,000 cards a month, they're not going to get their backlog ready until November of next year. I did the math. So the question is, what's their backlog? Can someone confirm to me how many million cards they have in the backlog system? Is it 6 million? Is it 8 million? Is it 10 million, as Darren Ravel saying? I'm going off of Darren Ravel. He must have some intel that I don't. Yeah, he's part of the media. Yeah, I don't trust the media, but he got that number from somewhere. I don't think he's pulling it out of, his rear end. And, they're slowly but steadily giving out cards back. I've gotten some cards back from PSA. So I want to get ahead of this curve, even though I may be too early. That's fine. I'd rather be a little early than too late, where, I spent $1,000 last year on some cards. I don't want it to go to 500, and that's a card that I don't want to keep. I want to maybe get, a decent return on it. So that's what I'm looking at. So, just like Hayek said, the market distortions are in place, and in my opinion, it's tricking a lot of people. People think it's easy money. It's not. And I like doing things that are opposite of what others are doing. And so obviously some people are not going to agree. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine. Leave a comment on why you don't agree with me. If you agree with me, also tell me, what you're doing. If you're neutral, tell me that you're neutral. I like getting different opinions. Sometimes, some people are dealing with card shops and they're seeing things that, no one else is talking about. Maybe they're seeing all of these guys just buying and no one's selling. They may have overheard someone say something. But anyways, guys, you guys know the drill. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. I'll talk to you later. Thanks, guys. Bye.